Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you feeling today?
Well, with this cesium, I can definitely feel the tingling, but that's what you said I would feel, and that's exactly the way you predicted.
No nausea, no nothing?
And again, you predicted that. Yes, I guess what you gave me took care of any possibility of problems.
Well done. So you're here now for about 10 to 14 days. Before you came here, you were extremely anxious about coming to a strange country. So I wanted to ask you, how was your flight? Was the big fellow there, you know, the little dwarf that I told you you'd meet at the airport, was he there? And how did you find the experience of meeting us for the first time? And just a brief summary of your experience with coming to this strange place. Do you feel safe here? Do you like your apartment? How would you rate the apartment? And just general, the things that you were anxious about before you came here. Tell me what you think about that, including from your flight and coming here.
Well, I guess the main thing is trying to keep my wife from being too anxious. She was worried about certain things because another clinic we went to in Arizona had made certain claims that we found out later were not proper. The numbers don't add up, things of that nature. So that wiped out our savings. And so basically it came down to, okay, do we spend a bunch more money, go, take money out of 401ks and that kind of stuff to try to come down here. After talking with Dr. Pablo a few times on the phone, I was comfortable. But my wife is still worried about, can you really trust all this? Is this real? Do the results you get actually turn out the way he says? Okay. So traveling all the way to Ecuador, there are all kinds of things you worry about. One would be, okay, what money do they use? Want to charge a phone? Well, do they have 120 volts? Is it 60 hertz or 50 hertz? All of these type things turned out it's trivial.
Yeah.
They use American dollars. It's 120 volts, 60 hertz. It's the same type stuff.
So you wouldn't even know that you're not even in the US at the moment, apart from maybe some skin color differences, but maybe not even that in Florida. Yeah. It would look similar to here anyway.
Same as Florida. There's not really much difference.
Yeah.
From where I was.
So when you walk around, we've taken you to the local big shopping center, and that's the same as what you find at home, I'm guessing. Yes. Similar.
Yeah. My problem is I don't know any Spanish. But other than that, that's it. But you all send somebody with me who speaks Spanish, so that's not a problem. Plus, I just take a picture of something I want, stick it on this WhatsApp that everybody shares, and
it's easy.
Voila, it shows up.
Yep. And I think you've been to a couple of restaurants.
Yes.
Went to like economic restaurants to see if you like that style of food. How was that? The local food.
The local food was very tasty. I was surprised because I've been eating a specific type of diet for many years, and Dr. Fallow's going, no, you can go ahead and have some fish and some tuna. I haven't had any meat in 20 years.
It's a big shock to your system, yes. If
So,
you keep doing the same thing that hasn't worked, that's not a good idea. It's a definition of insanity is to repeat the same thing and expect a change, yes?
I ate that way before I ever had any.
So you were always a really strict living food only, vegetarian.
I didn't go to the living food to probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I did some of it 10 years ago, but 20 years ago I just got off the meat.
Yeah.
But anyways, personally, I'm just an engineer that works out at the Kennedy Space Center. My whole specialty is data and data analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I set up computers to take data anywhere from a few hundred times per second to 10 million times per second across hundreds of sensors.
Wow.
And then I set them up. How can we analyze the data in real time so that the NASA engineers can make their decisions in real time so we can modify the test for the next day? And I've been doing that for 20 some years. So I looked at this clinic from a data viewpoint.
Okay.
What's the data? Well, if you look at all the different treatments, I've only been studying for about a year. This place offers more variety of treatments, and the two I'm the most impressed with from the data from other places, not just here, would have been GcMAF and high pH therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Those and
so you researched this research, and you actually found a website of mine. I think I haven't seen for 15 years, and somehow that helped you find me. So that was good for me and good for you. How do you find the staff here in such a strange place? I used to have all English staff, but now they're pretty low in the standard of English. Are you finding that a problem? How do you find the staff?
The staff is, being an engineer, I don't evaluate things from an emotional viewpoint very well.
But you have been to other clinics, so you get the general idea.
This staff has great empathy for the patients.
Okay, nice.
In other words, they were doing a CT scan on me, and the lady who ran the machine, she was extremely competent, but I was very uncomfortable on that bed, where the cancer was in a certain place where it was just uncomfortable in that bed.
Yeah.
No one else has those type of problems, so I was an unusual patient. Well, one of the nurses who came with me, she...
one of my staff.
Yeah, one of your staff. I could tell from her facial expressions that she was almost weeping for me for my discomfort.
Yeah, good.
Whereas the other lady who ran the machine,
she was just wanting to do what all of them do, get the data and move on. Yeah.
So no, the staff here is extremely empathetic.
Fantastic.
And always around.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. The traffic down here, you'll want to take a taxi. Let someone else drive you around here.
Yeah, the driving is a little different. They don't know what white lines are. But I did warn you about that.
Yeah, you warn about that. I'm just saying, don't even think about renting a car. Okay? I mean, you might. Okay, fine.
But it's very relaxed and fast. It's very different. So you experienced the shopping. Your flight was good. We met you at the airport. You didn't need a port fitted, so you came straight to the clinic, which is a little bit different than most people. So that's all good. You met the staff.
Well, you did mention one other thing, and that was how's the accommodations.
Oh, yes.
I would put it this way. If you were to look outside your condo that they get you here, you would think you're sitting in a luxury hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Because the view is incredible. The apartment's clean, nice big old 2-foot towels. This is the type place where people vacation.
Yeah.
This isn't a place where you normally would live.
And certainly not a hospital room.
No, not at all.
And you have been in other clinics before. In your first week, I think you can remind me, but in the first 6 days you had close to 20 IVs and multiple number of local injections in some places. How did you find that, the procedure of that? So you experienced me giving you the GcMAF injections, and I'm happy for our medical practitioner to do it, being a naturopath. But most people prefer me because I'm quick and gentle. How did you find that? Because it was a lot and it was a little uncomfortable, or not?
Well, like you said, I've got quite a few places you had to inject. Sometimes the needle missed all the nerves.
Yeah, I noticed that. You rated them out of 10 and, you missed me that time, you missed me, oh, you got me that time. That was funny.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so that's pretty quick. That's a few times a week.
If you've ever had a port where they have to put the needle in, that needle's a whole lot bigger.
Yep.
And that's more uncomfortable for a few seconds.
How did you find today?
Needle stuff.
How did you find that you had the port needle put in this morning? How was that?
Same as it's always been. Sometimes you hit some nerves. Oh, you hit some nerves in there. Okay, fine.
But
and then after 3 to 10 seconds.
After you don't feel nothing, it's pretty quick and over with, yeah. Okay, I really thank you for sharing that with me. We'll probably do an update at the end of your first 2 weeks, see how things are going, and hopefully we can share some exciting news of changes. But that'll be your choice, totally up to you.
Let me make this comment. Do your own research. Go onto the website, look up each one of the treatments, and see what they're supposed to do for you. And then realize this. This place combines the treatment at a certain dosage in a certain sequence, which is beyond anything I've ever seen, any other website I've ever been able to find.
And it's undocumentable, isn't it? It's so unique, yeah.
I haven't been able to pull out of him all the secrets. But that's fine.
I'll ask you something separate. I may or may not put this on this same video, but I may have it available for some people. In your research, you discovered of the problems I had in Australia and that I was closed down and so on. So tell me about that process and what went through your head when you discovered that, and what did you dig through to get over that problem? That some people have that problem hey, this guy's been locked up or he's had challenges with Big Brother and so on. You being a very intellectual researcher, A blood type, I think? A blood type?
I think that's what you said.
Which is the people who are fantastic at the scientific mathematics are all A blood type. The Einsteins of this world were A blood type. So you have a very intellectual thinking, and so you dug really deep to look into that story. Some people just see the surface and it scares them away. So tell me in your words how you got over that.
Well, for me, it was instantaneous. Why? If anybody thinks they can trust what they get in the Google search results or what the FDA says or CDC, they might want to go look at the Epic Times. Probably the best news organization that's fair, both sides, that I've ever seen. They have a
Epic Times.
EPOCH. They have a documentary on Dr. Berlinski, a doctor in Texas who's having fairly decent success with brain tumors. And they took him before, the FDA took him before a grand jury over 4 times. Every single time the grand jury let him go, said, no, there's nothing here. But here's the key. Every single time they brought him before the grand jury, the accusations had nothing to do with whether or not his treatment worked, only whether it was approved. So once you understand that part, what you see about Dr. Pablo in Australia, it's the same thing.
I went to jail for not completing papers.
Well, I'm just saying,
but people just, when you're reading, oh, he charges $17,000 a month for cancer treatment, so he's a scammer. Like it's like, I mean, I need to be exact with you, but to me it's like 10 pages, and then it's only the last 3 paragraphs that it says, and finally after a year of dragging him in and out of court, he got jailed for 6 months for not answering questions. That's what I went to jail for. But that's enough to scare elderly people and children that are sending people overseas. It's enough to frighten them.
Well, the problem with elderly people, at least my parents' generation, even though I'm 67, they have a tendency, if the doctor said it, it must be true.
Yeah.
And doctors are limited in what do they know, what sources of information do they use.
Yeah.
And so what most people don't know, and if you want to verify it, go to nutritionfacts.org and see what the average doctor knows about nutrition.
Which isn't a lot.
And so they gave a basic nutrition test, regular medical doctors. It was 5 multiple choice answers for each one of the questions. Remember, this is a basic nutrition test, not an advanced one.
Yeah.
This is doctors, MDs. Now, if they knew absolutely nothing about nutrition, just threw darts at the answers,
Yeah.
they'd score 20. They only scored 30. So don't rely on your doctor to know much about how nutrition interacts with your body.
Yeah, and on that, the science of the high pH therapy, you dug right into that, yes?
Yeah,
I
read Dr. Brewer's reports, who died in 1986, and came up with a lot of it.
What excited you about that? What excited you about that the most?
It is very difficult for people to lie and give details. The more details people give, the more you catch them if they're lying. Well, Dr. Brewer breaks it all the way down to the spin of the electrons on the membranes as they're bringing potassium in or cesium, things of that nature. So, okay, that must be how it works.
Yeah. And he was getting, I think, more than 95% success rate. He was claiming on his results with mice and people. I think, yeah, it was amazing. I recently done a video on it, and I used all of his studies, online reports, in that presentation to say, okay, I've been talking about this for 15 years. I didn't have this in the beginning, but I started it about 5 years after. And I did, when I had my clinic and I was having people not succeeding, I'd say, you have these other options. And I did refer people to Dr. Satori, who used to work for Dr. Keith Brewer. And he organized some things that didn't go well, weren't organized properly, and some people passed away waiting for proper treatment. And so sadly I was my name, because people knew that his papers were in my research papers as somebody to consider. did affect me from a distance, but it shouldn't if people research properly. But anyway, that's life. So I'm glad you've done the research and got through that. Most people who are looking for me consider the fact that because I had the difficulty, because I went to jail for not answering questions, when they read all of that, they consider me a hero. And the fact that I'm still doing it means that I'm honest. That if I quit then, it would mean that I was a scammer. And the fact that I'm still here, what a lot of people, which I never understood, so I'm going to turn this off you now and onto me if I can. No, I can't turn it around. I'll turn it on around onto me. I hope that I'm pressing the. Is it on me?
Yeah, but something else came off.
Oh, yo, back onto the video. So there we go. Turn it on to me. I'll delete anybody else out in that little section. So it's on me. Is it okay? So what surprised me is a scammer doesn't put a $1.2 million hyperbaric chamber. A scammer doesn't, as big as this block, have 2 levels with physiotherapists, with chiropractor, with medical staff, all of those people. If you're a scammer, you don't have all of that. But think about it, the rentals in Australia, it was $25,000 a week in wages, $25,000 a month rent. I didn't own the building. It was $25,000 a month my rent. I had close to $2 million worth of plant, hyperbaric oxygen, and a whole lot of other machines. So just do the math. Just to pay the opening door, I need 1 client. Yes? A week. Just to open the door. Yes? To turn the key, I had expenses of $25,000 for the week. Added up $150,000 to $200,000 a month before I have any income to cover the cost of materials. A scammer doesn't put himself in the situation where he has expenses. He just wants to rip people off and make money. So I don't understand why media, and that didn't do that basic maths, that this guy is obviously trying to help a lot of people, because look at the effort, like a $1.2 million hyperbaric chamber. All of the staff and all of the doctors working there, the physiotherapist, the chiropractor, we had everything under one roof. It's what I call still today the hamburger with the lot. But the hamburger here has a few less things, but hopefully one day we'll complete it and have it back again. A movie theater for people to have IV. You have IV looking at that beautiful view outside of the beach. It's relaxing, you must agree. It's better than looking at a wall.
And that music is really good.
And the sound music, the environment's really important for healing. So I thank you for sharing your time and your testimonial with me. The big thing is the flight going to South America. Some people are frightened, scared of safety, but as you can see, it's a beautiful place. We hold your hand when you go shopping. Make sure you're safe. And I thank you for sharing your first 2-week story of coming to a strange place. You look better than when you arrived here. You look stronger. And hopefully over the coming weeks, we see some exciting results we can share with people. God bless. Thank you for your time. And bye for now.
God bless.